thank you very much for agreeing to interview. If we could start with, I'd be interested to see what your take on the national election campaign so far is, really. How you feel it's going, what you feel the kind of general politics of it are.
Well, it's very dirty on all sides, that's for sure. Horrible. I think this is gonna go down in history as being one of the worst, most personal, vicious, venomous elections ever. And a lot of people. I signed the civility pledge, Joe Cox Foundation Civility Pledge, and quite a few people have. I'm just not doing that. If other people want to say nasty things about my opponents, fine. I'm not going to do that, and I've never liked doing that, and I've avoided it where possible, and I stick to facts. But it's the all the petty, silly comments is what puts people off, and the whole tone. Quite a few people have been saying over the last few days, oh, it's like PMQs every day now, that awful theatre of it's not even politics, really. The only person who ever does any politics, well, the SNP are quite good at doing the politics. Everybody else is just biting chunks out of each other. So there's that side of it. I just think it's vicious and nasty, and what a terrible place we're in with politics nationally. Why would anybody trust anybody when they treat each other like that? So that's part of it. The other part of it is, of course, where we are politically. So, I don't have to say much about the Tories. They have trashed the country's economy and pretty much everything else over the last few years, and there's plenty of evidence for that. And then we've got what used to be the former Labour Party, I'll call it, the former Labour Party, just following in their footsteps and going, oh, would we do that, or not as bad as them, or oh no, we agree with that. No, we can't give them free school meals. We won't give them any incentive, will it? All the things, all the social policies that the Labour used to stand for, and it's never been perfect. It's never been perfect, but it was the best we had over many, many years. And I thought, oh, well, I don't like this, but at least they're doing this. That's all gone. It's nothing. I can't see anything there. There's barely a husk of social policy in there that will help anyone. So when I'm going out door knocking, they're going, what on earth is Labour doing? So I'm not with them anymore. They go, oh, that's fine. We'll vote for you then. What are you doing? What are you standing? Anything, but not them, which is why I'm standing. It's because people said they won't vote. They're not going to vote. They have nobody to vote for. Politics is a dirty place, and nobody is actually supporting people who are struggling. And this sort of, they say there's no magic money tree. There's certainly a magic growth tree, because they keep on talking about growth. Well, what do you mean by growth? How are you going to get things to grow? There's nothing there to grow. And, with my background in built environment, and I look at the construction industry and building and house building and so on, it's just grinding to a halt. Brexit has been part of it, definitely, but also the general economy and, of course, the state of housing, which is another issue altogether. How on earth are we going to build whatever they want to build, 100,000 a year or whatever, some nonsense number, when we can't put a building up at which stays up? It will leak and you get mould and so on. We've got plenty of examples around here. And then, of course, tackling the damp mould and the cladding crisis around the country, which so many people are suffering from and making them ill. How are they going to get growth out of that massive mess? I have no idea. They go, oh, stability means growth. What on earth are they talking about? So their slogan, the former Labour Party, is change. But what they're offering is more of the same, but not quite as bad. And someone I was talking to this morning, he said we've got dark blue and light blue, which is a polite way of putting it, I think. I'm just gutted every day when yet more policies are going to leave people in destitution. We have in the past 14 years that I moved towards 2 years ago, and I used to be in Goulburn Ward for 16 years, and I moved over here, and because I live here and I look after my neighbours. But Goulburn Ward is now the poorest ward in London, in the whole of London. Life expectancy there has dropped by 6 years, which is the worst in the country. Uptake of vaccinations and cancer screening and all those sort of things are absolutely appalling, well below national average. What on earth is happening in what was the richest borough in the universe, as a Tory once told me? That things like that are shameful, and we have people living in genuine destitution. The doors I've knocked on, I'm ashamed that in the borough I've lived in nearly all my life I was born in, that there are people living like that, when just down the road there are people, well, the council's priorities are not to look after people like that. And it's a kind of microcosm of where national politics has been for the last 14 years, what has been happening here. Genuine destitution, and 3 bus stops down the road, people with too much money, all their assets are abroad, they're not paying any tax here, and they don't care if they do. I mean, we've got people with money who are decent human beings and pay their tax and so on. We've got plenty of those who voted for me before, and I think they might vote for me again. Quite a few of them have told me. But how we can actually change that status quo with the council prioritising all the fun bits and not looking after the people who are desperate, I have no idea. And as I say, it's a microcosm of what has happened nationally, that people are just being left to rot. It's disgusting. And that's also destroying a whole generation, the next generation, people who haven't been fed properly, they haven't been housed properly, their lungs are struggling because their homes are badly maintained, and they're probably overcrowded, they've got nowhere to do their homework. That's a whole generation of problems that we are going to have to deal with.
And how's your message going down on the knocker?
I knock where I know my votes are, no, it has gone down well. It actually really well. So I've done lots of leafleting. I was lucky right at the beginning of the campaign, because I started in September. That I had money coming with a fundraiser, which was quite shocking. It went so well, really. So I managed to get some leaflets out, and then we've been door knocking in the areas where I know that there is support. Many of them, of course, know what I'm doing. They knew me before, they know me now, they know I've left. And some don't, so you have to explain. They go, I've come for the election. I go, so I'm not Tory, I'm not Labour, I'm just here for you. I go, oh, okay, and then you have a conversation. And that's exactly what they want to hear right now. So, I was, a lot of people have been saying, well, I wasn't going to vote, I'll vote for you now, because we know you live just down the road, and we trust you. So I met a family the other day, by chance, a Palestinian family, and they were going, you know what, Emma, you've helped every single person in this household. And there were things, all kinds of different things that had happened. And, having the trust of people, because you've been a counsellor for a long time, you can't buy that. Any money in the world cannot buy that. The best slogans in the world can't buy that. You're known and trusted, and you're part of the family. So that's huge. It has gone down well, and I would say a big chunk of the communities I've been talking to have been very, very supportive, really supportive.
Brilliant.
We've only had one person say no Labour and shut the door. Mostly it's been very good, very encouraging.
Good. So what are you thinking about the period after the election? How do you think things are going to pan out? Have you got a sense of, obviously making predictions is probably not sensible, but
you're talking about for me or for everybody? For the
I'm talking about
the
more
country.
for the country,
Yeah.
for the right, for the left,
Yeah. I'm, for myself, whether I'm in or out, I'll be doing the same thing. If I'm in, I'll have a staff and I'll have a higher platform. And if I'm out, it'll be me doing what I've been doing for 18 years. And I continue on that, as well as all the Grenfell legislation and so on that I've been working behind the scenes on. I will always do that. It's a mission. It's not just a job for me. Nationally, I think, we're going to have a Labour government, but what kind of opposition will there be? It won't be the Tories. The Tories are just going to eat chunks out of each other and rely on these culture wars and all these hideous, the rise of racism and all of that is just so depressing. It really is horrible. So there's that, and I just hope they disappear and fight like rats in a barrel. But what kind of opposition will there be? And I really hope there'll be a strong group of, a loose alliance, I would say, of independents, Greens, maybe a few sensible Workers' Party, and maybe some others who can work together on things. It may be the odd Lib Dem policy that we can support. If we all agree on PR, I think we could certainly work with them on that. There's a few things like that, and probably SNP on quite a few things as well. They're much bolder than some of us are, and we work together on things like that, cross-party. And cross-party working is really powerful, really powerful. So I very much hope that that Labour don't get as many MPs in as they thought, and there'll be a decent contingent of everybody else there to go through. And I hope that there are people who will, rather than just standing up and grandstanding in Parliament and making, idiots of themselves, or will actually go through in an evidential way what is being proposed, pick it apart. And some people are very, very good at that, and we need to do that. I think Caroline Lucas was very good at that, picking things apart factually. We need that. We need people who can do that in Parliament, rather than just people who are full of themselves, and Parliament is stuffed with them. So I think a really strong, knowledgeable, well-informed group of not anything else would be really good. It would be much healthier for politics long term.
And what would your advice be? I mean, obviously you're campaigning hard for a vote for you in this borough, in this constituency. What would your advice be to people? We get people asking us, well, who should I vote for? How do I decide who to vote for? Have you got some sort of general advice to people up and down the country?
Yes, I do have general advice. I say, look at the candidate and look at their record. Look what they stand for, look what they've done, look what they've campaigned for. Look at the candidate, set the party aside. There are some Labour MPs, and I know it's difficult to say this to some of my friends. There are Labour MPs who've done a brilliant job, and they're not standing there for themselves, actually, because we're going to make a bit more money for a few years. Many of them know if they step down, if they were to become independents, leave the party, become independents, they'd be replaced by, by a Labour suit, and who wouldn't look after their people like they have. So I get that, because that means you're losing. It's not power, but it's actually the power to help people. So I think, if they've got one of those sort of Labour MPs, they should vote for them, actually. But see what they stand for. Actually do a bit of due diligence yourself on what they have and haven't done. There are some. It's a horrible atmosphere of fear within the party. I know that. People think, oh no, if I say the wrong thing, I said to the river, to the sea in a pub, and somebody overheard me, and that's it, I've been suspended, things like that. And some are bolder than others, but I think you have to look at their record more than anything else. What have they done? What have they stood for? And vote for them.
Okay, brilliant. And my last question is, we're coming up tomorrow to the anniversary, the terrible anniversary of the Grenfell disaster.
Yeah.
I wondered if you've obviously been central to the campaigning here. I wonder if you've got any particular thoughts as we approach that anniversary.
It's so hard. I mean, every year is absolutely heartbreaking, really heartbreaking. And the only people I know who've actually really been helped with their PTSD, and I have it as well, have been the firefighters who had really good therapies and so on, and that was paid for by the FBU. They didn't get that from the NHS. We just had talking therapies, which doesn't really work when you've got that stuck in your head. So a lot of people are very upset. Some people go to ground, and some people explode. Some people implode, and that's not great. The frustration now is that the report, the final Grenfell inquiry report, has been delayed yet again. So we're going to see that in early September. I'm going to be ready for it, because I'm in contact with 15 professional organisations. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I do a big report every year of what they're doing. Every year I've sent it to MPs for the parliamentary debate on Grenfell. So I will be doing the same. Parliament won't be, it'll be in recess still, I think, by then, but I will be doing that. And to the press. We need to know where we are, how little progress we've made under the Tories. I have no idea what Labour's plans are for the 1001 things that need to be fixed to stop another Grenfell happening. So that there's the frustration about the report and what the recommendations will be. And then there's the frustration about the criminal investigation not really swinging into action for another year and a bit after that. So there may not be any even charges until January 2025. That's the fear. And then there's people who've been lawyering up for 10 years. Many of them have got access to all the money in the world, either through their corporations or through our council, or from other bodies, I imagine. Our council is spending £5 million a year on defence for itself that we are paying for. The bereaved and survivors are paying for it out of their council tax and so on, which I find absolutely appalling. So that there's huge frustrations, and the people, we've all got a list in our heads about who should go to jail. I don't think any of them will be. It'll be some idiot in one of these cladding companies, somebody sort of halfway down the management trail, who wasn't properly briefed, who made some stupid decisions, he said something offhand, trying to hide up their mess. They're going to go to jail. I don't think the chief execs will go to jail. So that is very depressing, and the idea that there is no justice still, and there won't be any hint of any justice for 10 years, is unbearable. And we are living with that thing, the building in its shroud, and they're putting out a briefing now for architects to design the memorial and so on. There's going to be so much heartbreak over that, because for some people it's a sacred site, and I understand that, but I see that every day, and when I look at it, I see what I saw that night. I don't want to see that every day. I want that gone, whatever it is. I don't mind what's on the ground. I don't want to see that every day, because it's horrible. It's just triggering every day. So they're going to be roused about that, which is perfectly reasonable, and it's going to be compromise and fudge, I'm sure. So I don't know. I don't know how the Labour Party are going to deal with that. The Labour DLUC version is going to deal with that. I don't see the empathy and the kindness and the intelligence there. I want to be proved wrong on that. I really do. I hope they do one thing good, and that is fix that mess and fix the legislation, which has taken far too long, and it's been dragged down every stage. So we need a bit of justice, and we need good legislation, because the Tories have just watered it down at every possible stage. It's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. And I know Michael Gove's children, I think one of his children had lost a friend, maybe two friends, or in their class at school. I thought, wouldn't he have a bit more empathy than that? It's one thing, looking at doing sad face, actually turning that sad face into real action and getting that mobilising you. You can't just go around feeling sorry for people and not actually doing the work. So we'll have to see whether or not there's any real action there. There has to be. It has to be pushed through. It's an absolute disgrace. I was on the London Fire and Emergency Planning Authority for 1 year before Grenfell, before I became MP, and we spent much of that year writing letters to various government ministers about the recommendations of the Lakanal House fire. If the Lakanal House fire recommendations had been adopted, Grenfell couldn't have happened. It's that simple. So it's what happens with those recommendations is the thing.
Brilliant. Emma Dent Coad, thank you so much. Good luck with your campaign.
Thank you.